Hey guys, this is my first YouTube video, so I apologize in advance for any bad picture or audio quality. I am still learning, so if you guys have any tips for me, please leave it down below. I'd greatly appreciate that. So I wanted to make a little video about my journey to medical school so far and how it differs than most people on YouTube. Now, when I was getting ready for the application process, I was on YouTube looking at other people's experiences and seeing what's in store for me. And I saw a lot of amazing people. Like they had the 520 MCAT, they had amazing GPAs, great leadership positions, great extracurriculars, they cured cancer. I mean, like you get the gist. Like they were amazing applicants. However, I just feel like that just isn't the norm. So I thought, why not make a video about my experience, because I feel like it's a little more representative of, I don't want to say average, but average applicant. With that being said, this is how I went from 0 medical school acceptances to 8. Now, before I get any further, I do want to clarify, by no means am I an admissions expert, but I did apply to medical school 2 times, so I feel like I have some advice that hopefully ends up helping at least one person. Also, this is going to be a super general video, so if you guys want to see more details, please express some interest in the comments, and I will definitely try to make more specific videos in the future. I mean, it is quarantine season. You can probably tell by the beard and the hat that I am following the social distancing guidelines. No haircuts. It sucks, but it is what it is. And I'm pretty bored these days, and I'm going to remain bored until I start medical school in the summer, and I won't have anything to do, so yeah. Alright, so I'm going to break this video into 2 sections. The first is going to be just a quick background about myself, and the second is going to talk a little bit about how I went about improving my applications the second time around. So since graduating from undergrad and starting medical school in the summer, I'll have taken a total of 4 gap years. During this time, I worked, I went to graduate school, and I also traveled. Personally, I believe that taking at least 1 gap year is beneficial to anyone going into medicine. The field has a lot of delayed gratification, so taking a year after 16 years of schooling to do whatever you want to do, I think goes a long way to reducing the risk of burnout. Also, I think it's a good idea to work during this time so you can get a first-hand experience of the challenges of the common person. You will be caring for these people in the future, so just getting their perspective on things is probably going to make you a more well-rounded individual. Not to mention, both of these things you can talk about in your interview, and it's probably going to come up somehow, some way, and it's just another way to show your personality and show that you have interests outside of medicine and that you're a normal human being. The MCAT was a beast for me. I took it 2 times. The first was right before I started graduate school, and I probably shouldn't have taken it because I got a 500. I didn't do well, but it is what it is. You live and learn. And the second time was after a year of graduate coursework, and I did much better. I got a 512, and it's not what I wanted. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's still like, you know, a good score, but I was scoring much higher on the practice exams, so I was a little disappointed, but it is what it is. It was around the matriculant average, and I didn't really want to take it again, so I was taking it and running with it. Getting down to the application, the first time around, I applied to 21 schools, and 2 of those schools were DO schools. My first interview invite didn't come until November, and that interview wasn't until February. So I had a lot of time in between to suck myself up and be really nervous when I got there. It was my first interview, my only interview, and on top of that, it was an MMI. So it was the perfect storm. And I was not very confident, and I got waitlisted, and that's when I really started to consider that I wasn't getting into medical school this cycle. I looked at my application and looked for reasons as to why. Why didn't I get more interviews? Do I really need to take that MCAT again? Do I need to improve my clinical hours? Do I need to improve my volunteering hours? Or was I just not competitive at the schools I applied to? I emailed every single school in the hopes of getting some feedback on my application, and they were not about it. Most of them weren't about it. 2 schools did get back to me. They gave me the advice that you should not retake the MCAT. I was so happy about that, and their reasoning was that the risk to reward ratio just isn't in your favor. However, they did want to see more graduate coursework, more volunteering hours, and more clinical hours. So I was happy with that because the graduate coursework had just taken care of itself because I finished the degree. I just had to do the clinical hours, volunteering hours, and then after looking at my application a little more, I had to improve my personal statement and also the list of schools and also the secondary. For clinical hours, I applied to and was selected to a research program in the emergency department. I did that on the weekends. Throughout the week, I was a medical scribe. Now, personally, I think scribing is a great opportunity because you don't need any certifications to do it, unlike other positions, and you get some valuable experience. I mean, I was in outpatient medicine and I got to see firsthand the physician-patient interaction, which was really incredible, and it came up a lot in my interviews and also in my secondaries. For volunteering, I just continued going to my Boys and Girls Club and offering my time there. I'm a really community-oriented person, and that was something I liked doing. And I encourage you guys to do something that you actually like. You're volunteering your time, you're not getting paid. So if you actually like it, you will enjoy it. And when they talk to you about it in your interview, it will show. As you guys probably know, when you reapply, you have to rewrite your personal statement. And this time around, I tried to make it a little more personable, and I did that by having like a theme for me, and that was like consistent throughout my whole application and even extended to my secondaries. That was great, but I think what really helped me a lot was sending it out to a lot more people. I mean, the first time I sent it to like maybe 1 or 2 people. Alright, 2 people I sent it to. But the second time around, I sent it to like 7 or 8 people. And, you know, getting feedback is never a bad thing. And especially going into medicine, like, we have to be able to take feedback. Getting any feedback is good feedback. While you might not like what they have to say, and you don't always have to incorporate it into the work, it might unlock something in your brain and start a new thought process, which might give your personal statement that little oomph that it needs. So when I went about constructing my school list this time, I looked at the schools I applied to the first time and see what the issue was with those schools. Like, why didn't I get an interview? Because statistically, I was around the median. So what I found out was, which sucked at this point, but a lot of schools have a lot of in-state preference, they have a lot of regional preference, and they have a lot of stats which you may not be aware of, and you might have to do some extra digging beyond MSAR. For example, there's one school I'd previously applied to which had like a matriculant average of like 2,500 volunteer hours, something crazy. I wasn't going to get to that, so that school was not going to be on my list. This time around, in total, I'd applied to like 34 schools, many more DO schools, and I applied to the DO schools at the same time I applied to the MD schools. I wasn't taking a chance this time at all. So my first interview invite came in August, and the interview was scheduled for September, and it was a DO school. I was going into it nervous, but a lot more confident this time around. I was accepted in October. I was super ecstatic. I mean, like, I remember exactly what happened. Like, I got my email at work, and we were in the physician's office, and I look at my phone, I'm like, I got in. He looks at me like, what? I'm like, I got in. He's like, you got in? I'm like, I got in. It's like, it was a cool moment. I'm never gonna forget it. It's funny because like my MD interview, my first MD interview was later that month. It was like, I think like 2 weeks after I got accepted, and I went into that super relaxed. Like, going into an interview with an acceptance is definitely a good thing, and for me it didn't matter, MD, DO, it didn't matter. I was going to medical school, so I was super hyped. I hope you guys found that video helpful. If you guys liked that video, please give me a like. If you have any suggestions for me, please leave some comments below, and I'll definitely try to make videos in the future. And please stay safe out there. It's a crazy time out there right now. And to all my Muslim brothers and sisters, Ramadan Mubarak. Please stay safe, guys. Have a good one.